This is Diana.
And this is Diana.
Chisme con propósito, porque si vamos a hablar, vamos a decir algo.
Si venimos por el chisme,
pero nos quedamos por el crecimiento.
Porque hablar se nos da,
pero reflexionar también.
Because if we're gonna talk, we're gonna say something.
Hello, buenos dias, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. Diana, how are you?
Good morning. I am doing well, given everything. Aquí estamos, echándole ganas.
That's
doing what we can.
The best that we can do. Yeah, honestly, at this time and at this point in our lives, I've been saying that, you know how like a few weeks ago I was like, it's a new month, like I'm going to start fresh. I've decided to divide the year into quarters. So quarter one has not been great, but you know, we're going to try again in May.
Yeah, quarter two will be better, and then it goes into the summer. You get all the summer energy, the good weather. I mean, it gets hot, but there's a lot that happens in the summer too. Yeah, this first quarter has been rough, but honestly, I feel like it has been rough for everyone. Yeah. Everyone just has something going on, whether it's work, personal, just relationship, just in general, life is lifing.
And it's lifing hard.
It's really hard.
I know. Well, to kick us off, right, with our chisme of the week, I actually had a different chisme, but actually I'm going to share my chisme of, not what you think, Diana.
Oh, damn.
No, I'm going to save that one for the end. But last week I had been, so I think y'all have heard like a few episodes ago, I have like a slight obsession with John Summit. Turns out he's going to be headlining on Sunday for Baja Beach Fest. So I ended up convincing my friends to like buy tickets. So we're just going on Sunday to see like John Summit, va a estar Ozuna, va a estar Manuel Turizo. And it was just like such a quick turnaround, you know. I think it really reminds me like, you know, it's great to have like friends who are just like down. Because I was literally like, are y'all down? Ahorita, yeah, Diana was not down. I did invite her. She said no. But Adriana, the invitation's still out for you if you're interested in joining. But yeah, it was really nice because we were just like, okay, we're doing it. Are we doing it? Okay, fuck it. Let's do it. And so, yeah, that's my chisme of the week. I'm really excited because, you know, I feel like I'm the Latina baddie that John Summit needs in his life. But that's just me.
I'm sure it is. You know, you need to go and spice up his life and diversify a little bit.
Manifesting.
Yes. I love that for you. Yeah, I'm not going. I'm not a festival person. I know you're going to have fun. It's going to be amazing. I'm sure there'll be some chismes or stories that will come out of that trip. Que Dios te bendiga.
Always.
You'll be fine.
Always.
All right. My chisme is actually like a recent one that just happened. And it's when you have your mothers diagnosing everyone around the house when they're not doctors. No más porque miran todo en TikTok o en el Facebook. And they be sending like links. Ay, mira lo que están diciendo. O este remedio. I mean, some of the remedios will work, right? Because I have tried them. But my dad, he came home early a day this week and he had like a bunch of like rashes. And we know that for people that got like chicken pox, I recently learned this, but when you get like chicken pox, like you actually stay with the virus, but it's like inactive. After the age of 50, there's a higher risk of that inactive virus of becoming reactivated, and then it's known as shingles. So for people after 50, they do recommend for you to get like the shingles shot. And if you get like shingles, it's like big rashes, kind of like when we got chickenpox, pero son más grandes. They're blistery, they're painful, super itchy, combined with like I think like fever and headaches. And then what we learn is that shingles only appears on one side of the body. Well, my dad came home with rashes, and my mom was all like, tiene la culebrilla, tiene shingles. Like, you need to take him to the ER and this and that. And I think my mom even got to my dad because my dad was all like, creo que tengo esa chingadera. And then we're like, okay. We're like, okay, we're just going to go to the ER. So I took him to the ER. They do the intake because I go in and I'm like, he needs to be seen now. Like, we think he has shingles. The intake, a
we
nurse.
think he has shingles.
intake nurse dice.
Tú también, dude.
I know. I fell into it because I don't know any better. And I'm like, I need them to see him now. Bueno, they see
like,
him.
You don't understand.
My mom said that this is what happens. No, and then, yeah, pues lo mira the nurse intake, and she's like, I can guarantee you, promise you that this is not shingles. It's an allergic reaction. So my dad, she's like an allergic. He got like an allergic reaction to something. We don't know if it's maybe because he had like camarones a day ago, or if it's somewhere that he entered or passed by that just gave him like an allergic reaction. So it was not shingles. So let's not think that TikTok or ChatGPT can diagnose us. Let's just go to the doctor.
I'm just cracking up because you said I recently learned, and I'm just curious to know like where you learned that from, like your mom on TikTok, or like did you do your own TikTok research?
I went on Google and like WebMD and I looked it up there.
Not WebMD.
Well, oh, you know, Lord. It's references different sources. And so I went on Google, and then I went there, and then once I was at the hospital talking to like the nurse and the doctor, I asked questions, and they verified and explained it further. Mm-hmm.
So was WebMD accurate? I mean, obviously not if you diagnose your dad with shingles.
I mean, it wasn't that. I think we just panicked. You know, in moments like that, you do panic. I think you think the worst, but hope for the best. Yeah, so that's my weekly chismeo. We be having mother's diagnosis. I was calling her, ay, doctora.
No, yeah, it's true. Like, my mom siempre, ay, me duele aquí, me duele allá. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, ma'am, go to the doctor. Pero no quieren. O sea, she's just like, ¿qué me va a decir el doctor? And I'm like, honestly,
y los doctores no saben. Aquí no saben nada. Nada más quieren matarlo a uno. I was like, ay.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Well, that was a good chisme. I love that.
Yeah, it just happened. All right. Well, something that we also wanted to continue because I felt it was kind of like a hit and we enjoyed talking about it, but we're going to introduce, maybe we'll keep it. I don't know. We're still feeling it out, y'all. I think we're going to keep just kind of like discussing everything that's happening today. So just, you know, worldwide, what's happening within our communities type of like chisme.
Yes. And so to kick it off, you know, we got to start by talking about Karol G. Coachella is this weekend. Weekend 1 is happening. And, you know, Karol G is headlining. She's going to be closing out on Sunday. But honestly, for me, the biggest tea is that she confirmed her breakup with our boy Fade, Fecho, my guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. She said in her Playboy article que está soltera. Y que, you know, according to her, siempre había pensado que esos momentos de mayor crecimiento personal llegan cuando está sola. So, rest in peace to Fade, Team Soleman. But, yeah, dude, I can't believe it.
They were such a cute couple.
They were. And it kind of makes me think, like, did she really love him? I don't know. I feel like she never got over Anuel.
Oh, I mean, I hope she does and has, because that guy is terrible. But maybe this was like the rebound, you know, after this relationship with Anuel. I thought they were really cute, but she also has a lot going on. And you know what? She needs to keep moving on up and doing amazing work. And Fade will find someone for him. It's okay.
He will.
Así es la vida.
It is.
Mm-hmm. In other news, I think this one just recently happened as well, but our dear president was warning of like striking Iran, right? Yeah, Iran. If they don't agree to like peace terms. I'm just like, this guy thinks he can just like eliminate a whole country, like, ¿qué piensa?
He's so crazy, and like what's crazier is like the people around him that don't like say shit. I was cracking up. There's this guy on TikTok. he's just like so funny. He's like, Congress, like, what are you doing? Like sucking dick in the back. And honestly, like, what are they doing? It's like, it's crazy. Like, I don't understand. Yeah. Like, everyone's just watching. And like, the thing is that like, this has been an ongoing thing, right? Since they like initially bombed Iran, like a month ago or so. And so this like has continued to like snowball. And I'm like, where, like, I don't understand, like, how are these three branches of government like functioning right now? Like, I can't wait for my kids to like read the history books for 2026
and see all that was happening. Right. In other news, what continues to be talked about is the interview that Becky G gave, where she talks about her relationship with Sebastian and how she was able to essentially continue with him after the betrayal, right? And him cheating. And I feel like a lot of Latina content creators on TikTok, on Instagram, and even like some Latina psychologists as well, and therapists have come out, you know, to speak on it. And I feel like there's a lot of mixed opinions and thoughts about this. Some are very much supporting her, you know, saying how she's had to work through it, done the work, healing essentially. And then others are saying like, no, this is not okay because he cheated. And it almost felt like she was taking on a lot of the work, right? And having to go to therapy and work through it. And what is he doing to, you know, get better and do the work as well? Which, I mean, we haven't heard from him. Maybe he has. But that continues to be in the news, y'all.
Yeah, I think it's very contentious, actually. I feel like people have more opinions about Becky G and Sebastian than they do about the president. But, you know, to each their own. But yeah, I feel like it is very complex, and I think that it's a gray area. And I think that even, I mean, when you were having conversations, how like, you know, and like the therapists that are coming out and saying, right, like, you know, you either shame a woman for leaving or you shame a woman for staying. Yes. I think like the theme is really like, why do we continue to shame women for like the choices that they make? I'm definitely one of the ones who's like, I can't believe she stayed. But you know what? I also very much like, I'm the kind of person who's like, it's a canon event, you know? So like, there's a lesson there. Like, you know, sometimes we just have to see things through, and, you know, like if it doesn't work out, like there was a lesson there. And so that's very much how I feel about Becky G. Like, I'm like, you know what, girl, like I wouldn't recommend staying because I've been there before. But if you want to see and like have him cheat on you again, like, pues cada quien.
Pues sí, cada quien. Yeah, it's not easy because, like you said, either way, whether you stay or leave, women are always shamed for that. They're always criticized for it as well. And as long as she's at peace and I feel like she's happy and she continues to do well. Yeah. But we'll have to see. I feel like we're going to hear about this in the future. It's not going anywhere, y'all.
It's not. And then this is Diana. Yo, I'm cracking up because so we meet up every like before each like recording and kind of discuss what we're going to talk about. This is something that Diana thought was very important that we share, and so I'm going to start us off and then I'll have her elaborate. But apparently there was a large warehouse fire in Ontario, California on Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. And apparently it was a warehouse employee, and he was arrested on suspicion of arson. Care to elaborate, Diana?
I just feel like, you know, we're going to discuss things. It has to be from different genres, different, you know, sectors of the world. We talk, you know, entertainment, we talk politics. And this is something that recently happened. It happened on Tuesday in Ontario. There was a fire that broke out in a warehouse, and I've seen videos out there. I don't know how accurate or like real they are, but they do show that someone started the fire and it spread. Like it's a huge warehouse that you could like see in the videos, and it took a lot of firefighters. It took over 12 hours later to be able to like bring it down. Yeah, it was huge. And I guess the most recent news is that they did arrest someone on suspicion of arson, and it's one of the employees. And my sister was saying, well, they did something to that person, whoever whoever was arrested, they must have done something to him to get to this point. But I think it's also just asking ourselves, like, well, what were they going through? Like, I feel like nothing is black and white. I feel like it's always, there's different reasons, right? As to why it may lead, it may take someone, right, to do what they do. And I feel like that's a good segue into what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about mental health. We feel like mental health is super important. And just so everyone knows, according to our dictionary, mental health refers to your emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how you think, feel, act, handle stress, relate to others, and make decisions.
Yes. And I think, we thought this was important because I think that a lot of times we just kind of assume that our mental health is only affected, like it's something that's within our control. And I think to a certain extent it is, but very much our mental health is impacted by exterior factors. When we talk about the news, this very much impacts like our well-being. It's the way that we move in the world. It's the way that, like, I think when I see so much, especially, with like our current president and just the way that he talks about immigrants and the way he talks about communities of color, undocumented communities, I think it sometimes it affects our mental health, right? Because those are our communities, those are our families, those are the people that we work with, that we see on a daily basis. And so, how is it that we can like take care of ourselves with so much that's happening and so many like outside factors that are like impacting us?
Definitely. And all of that starts, I feel like, with also being conscious, right? Being aware of your mental state. How are you feeling emotionally, right? And physically too, because I feel like your physical health is also important and can impact your mental health. The way that you eat, if you're drinking water, if you're taking your vitamins, if you're going on walks, clearing your mind. I think all of that is related to like mental health and how it can help, take you through like daily life. And stress is a huge one that I often feel is one of the biggest impacts, right, to mental health. I think within, whether you're in school, like a student, whether you're working, whether you have a family of your own, or dealing just with family, like in itself, like stress is a huge factor in someone's like mental health. And I feel like sometimes even kind of going layered, it's also, I think culturally as well, right? Within like culture, I think mental health sometimes isn't something that's seen as like important, or like, no, tú estás bien, no tienes nada, or they think that like mental health is someone that's crazy. Like, no, you're not crazy. It's not that you're crazy, right? And often we're feel to like pressured, right, to hide the struggles and like avoid worrying, and you have to be strong, right, and endure like the hardship. But I think over time, like that impacts you as well, right? And it can also impact, like, I think even meeting like your long-term goals or short-term goals as well.
And I think you bring up a really good point where like a lot of times like some of the things like anxiety, right, or like stress, depression, like all those are things that I think in our community are very much like, you don't need to see someone to address those things. It's very much like placed on you as like an individual. And it's not until, you start realizing like, wait, this is actually like very heavy to carry, like I need help. And I think we also put a lot of the pressure on like our friends. I think like for a long time we think like our friends are our therapists and we vent to them. And it wasn't like, for example, when I think about like when I realized like, wait, there's a difference between like going to a therapist versus going to your friends, because I feel like your friends always want what's best for you, and sometimes what's best for you that they think might be something that like you don't agree with or you don't understand, and sometimes it becomes like this kind of like contention, right, or contentious, because you don't want to do what your friends want you to do. And sometimes like as a friend, right, and I've been on both sides, right, I've been the friend that's like venting, and I've also been the friend who's like giving advice, and I can see how like as a friend, sometimes it's like frustrating because it's like, marica, yeah, like, you know, like, why do you continue to go back to this man? But then I continue to go, yeah, but then I continue to go back to that man. So it's kind of like, I think the really, you know, what I love about therapy is the fact that like you can speak to your therapist and you can be like, you know, this happened, I did this, like, I'm not proud of it. And our therapist, right, because we have the same therapist, what does she always say? What does she say? She's like, we all relapse. But there's always like no judgment. And I feel like your friends don't mean to judge you, but like they can't help but judge you because like I'm judging me. And so I think that's one of the really great things about like, you know, therapy and like seeking out like, you know, professionals, because at the end of the day, like they're really there for you and to support you. And like regardless of like what mistakes you make, like they're not there to judge you, they're just there to listen.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I think something that I really liked working with our therapist, because we do have the same one, is that, you know, she tells me, like, I'm not here to tell you what to do, what's right or wrong. Like, you are leading your own life, right? You make your own, like, decisions, but it's thinking about how that decision, right, what it will lead to, what our actions and behaviors are saying, what are we allowing as well to take in and accept, right, from others. What are they telling us through their actions and behaviors? And if that doesn't sit well with us, but yet we're accepting it and thinking that's okay, that's also I feel like crossing our boundaries. I think over the last few years, boundaries is something, and a word that we throw out there a lot, I think even within the workplace, everywhere, right? Like healthy boundaries and what does boundaries mean? But I think it's really sitting down with yourself and asking, like, what are your boundaries, right? How do you protect, like, your mental, your physical, your just overall being, right, with these boundaries? Because what we've learned, I think most recently, right, as women in our early 30s, is that when we allow someone to cross those boundaries, we're showing them that it's okay, that it's fluid, you know, that we're willing to bend the rules and let them continue to disrespect us, right? To keep those patterns over and over again. And all of that, again, related to just like protecting like our mental health. Yeah.
I mean, I completely agree.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, go.
One question that I did wanted us to, you know, like tackle. Okay, maybe two. I have two. But what are some common like misconceptions that you have heard about mental health?
I feel like some common misconceptions that I've heard, like you mentioned, is that one, they say that you don't need it. I've heard people say like, oh, like, ¿para qué ocupas hablar? Or like, oh, nomás vas para hablar con alguien, like, puedes hablar con cualquier persona. So the idea that like I think even like, I mean, this could be a whole other episode on just like the profession of mental health and like how often it's like shitted on, you know, because I think that they do such great work, but it's very much like underappreciated. So I think like that, and like you mentioned, like, oh, people like, you know, they must be crazy if they have to go to therapy, or like, oh, ellos, like, they're not strong enough to deal with it on their own. I think is another really big one that I've heard, where like, do you really need someone to tell you what to do? And it's like, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest one that I often hear is that mental health issues are a sign of weakness, that you're weak, right? That you can't handle it, that you just have to get over it and move on. Which we do. I feel like everyone's very resilient in their own way and they do move through it. But moving through it is also, I think, learning more about like yourself, right? And it's not a sign of weakness. I think if anything, it's a sign of like strength, right? That even through these like hardships, you're able to work through them, hold yourself, right? And keep moving like forward as well.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of mental health, I think a lot of like mental health is also like, for example, we talk about boundaries, right? But like boundaries were actually not something that were taught to us because our parents like never had boundaries with their family. So it's like, how can I know how to have strong boundaries? How can I know like when to place them if like I never had a good example of like what is a healthy boundary?
100%. Because we're always overextending ourselves thin sometimes, right? To whether it's to support, to help, to be there, right? Even when we have our own stuff. So it is hard. It is hard for us to practice healthy boundaries, but they're important. I feel like we're learning
and necessary.
We're learning how to. Yeah, they're very much, very much. One of the other things that I wanted to ask you was, how do you manage your own mental health?
I mean, do I manage it? I'm just kidding. No, I mean, honestly,
we have some days where it's a little rough, but we get through it.
Yes, no, I mean, I feel like definitely therapy, I think, is something that's really helpful for me. I think therapy grounds me sometimes because I can be very like all over the place. And so I think it's when I go to therapy that I kind of like sit and I reflect on like some of the things that I have been like going through or dealing with. I think also learning to like be in community with others. I feel like I'm just like really big about like being with others. So it's like finding like my people depending on like how I'm feeling or like kind of like who I need to vent to, who like I know isn't going to judge me, or who I'm like, okay, right now I need like tough love. So I think really finding like your village. And I think also like, surprisingly, like working out. I mean, I only do Pilates, but I think for me, it's been really helpful to just like be in a room for 50 minutes and just like sweat and feel like shit. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay, like saqué todo lo que tenía por dentro. But
I love that.
Yeah, what do you do, Diana?
I feel like similar. I have to be active, so I also do Pilates. I also run. I feel like that has been very like liberating and nice to do. I think therapy has also been super helpful. I did it years ago, and then I recently started, mid last year, and I think it's been very helpful just to talk things out instead of just bottling them up. I think when you just hold on to everything over time, like it impacts who you are as a person, right? And then you can't deal with the things that come at us, right? Whether it's family, work, or just, miscellaneous things that get in like the way. So I think talking it out has been really helpful. And I think through that, also validation, affirmations as well, of like some of the things that we are going through. Like, it's not just us. There's a lot of people, experiencing what we are experiencing. So I think being in community, I think, talking with you, with my sister, with friends, right? It's also like helpful because we support each other through that. And then the others, it's, the usual. Make sure y'all getting your sleep. I keep telling my sister and Diana, y'all need to start taking your vitamins. Because
oh my
after
God,
30,
yes.
things change. Taking your vitamins, making sure you're drinking water and eating well too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's like a lot of just things that are in our control that I feel like, we should do. Like, I think going on walks, like just like so much that like is important for us to take into account. But yeah, está cabrón.
Yeah. It doesn't mean we're perfect, y'all, because let me tell you that sometimes we know exactly what our actions and behaviors will cause, and yet we do it anyways. Consciously knowing that it's not the healthiest, that we know better. So
it's a canon event. Yeah, and I mean, I think I always also remember that because, like, sometimes I'll tell, like, Isaura, like, oh, my God, like, I have so much regret. Like, I can't believe I did this. And then she'll be like, Diana, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 31. Oh, I'm so old. And she's like, oh, my God, you're not old, Diana. Like, you're still so young. And I feel like sometimes I have to remind myself that because we compare a lot of, like, what we're doing in our life in this age to like what our parents were doing at our age, and they're raising like whole ass families. And so that's why sometimes I feel like I'm too old to be making mistakes. I'm too old to like continue to repeat the same pattern. But then I'm like, wait, you know what, like I'm only 31, like I can still make a few more mistakes. We're good.
We're good. We're good. But something that Diane and I have recently been talking about is how we self-sabotage. Because we, I mean, we've learned a lot about ourselves, right? I think just through life experiences and definitely going through like therapy. I think even, you know, having these conversations and now recording them and being on a podcast. But we sometimes get ourselves into situations and we do things that we know are not good for us, right? That are testing our boundaries, that will impact us in different like ways. And yet we still do it.
Yeah, and I think that's something I really struggle with, right? Because I tell my therapist all the time, like, you know, like one thing is to like make a mistake and like not have the self-awareness to know that you're making a mistake, that you shouldn't be doing that. And the other part is like knowing exactly what you're doing, knowing that you shouldn't do it, but still doing it anyways. And I think sometimes like the latter is like the worst, right? Because you know that what you should be doing is not to put yourself in those situations, you know. And so recently I think that's a conversation that we've been having is, you know, like how we self-sabotage like ourselves, right? Like I know for a fact that I put myself in situations that like I know that I'm not ready and I feel like I want to test my boundaries and I'm just like, am I ready? And no, caigo otra vez, dude, caigo otra vez. And I'm like, fucking Diana, never learn, bruh, never learn. But it's okay.
It's okay. It is okay. We're going to have moments of relapse. We're going to go through a lot, but I think that's the beauty in life. And as long as we're holding ourselves accountable, we're not harming anyone. No one's like dying over this.
Just ourselves, just my heart, just my feelings.
Our hearts. I know we've been going through it.
It's okay. You know, I think again, like, reminding ourselves that as long as there's like we're learning from it, I think that's something else that like I've learned from therapy, right? Is okay, like you didn't lose time as long as like you learned something. Like if you continue to go back to the same situation and like the situation hasn't changed, at what point is it no longer a lesson but like a pattern?
Yeah. And you know, we don't need to be perfect. I think just more aware than yesterday and the day before, and paying attention to like the small choices that we do and how they shape like our future. Because I think at the end of the day, we all, at least for me, I feel like, you know, there's going to be moments of like happiness, right? Of crying and, you know, just different like emotions. But I think being aware, right, and paying attention to all of that.
Yeah, but hopefully y'all, I mean, we could definitely like, there's a lot of other things within therapy that we can talk about, but we wanted to at least share like that little snippet. And we also want to end with like a resource that like I always tell everyone who is interested in going to therapy, which is find a therapist that really aligns with like your background and your identity. And so I will encourage you, for those of you who are maybe considering therapy, maybe, you know, looking to see, you don't have to stick to it. You know, you can try it out a few sessions and see if you like it or not. But there's this really great website called Latinx Therapy. Just look them up on like Instagram or like online. They have a directory of like Latinx therapists across like the U.S. and within California. You can filter it by like identity, health insurance. So it's a really great resource. You can filter it by like if you want like in person or online. But definitely check out that resource if you are open to therapy, because I think you know, the biggest thing is making sure that it's a therapist that really aligns with like who you are and your background.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important that you find the right one for you that's going to work with you. All right, y'all. But with that, this is all we have for you. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, that you continue to listen to us. Thank you to those that have consistently showed us love throughout like the past few weeks. As we have shared, this is new to us. We're learning and growing within it, but it has been really fun. And we'll see you next week.
We want to thank you all for listening to Chisme con Propósito,
where the tea is hot,
the takes are unfiltered,
and somehow we still make it make sense.